Hi, this is Larry Tranel, Dairy Field Specialist with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. Today we're going to move a pasture fence by moving up the pigtail post and reeling it up, and you can see the heifers are anxiously waiting for their next lunch. So this is called rotational grazing, and so we move these pastures every 12, 24 hours, so the cows or heifers are coming into a new bit of pasture here. You can see that they're munching, and they tend to be sometimes hungry, so they're going to come in for the new lunch. And even if they're not hungry, though, if you move the pasture fence, they'll just tend to come towards it. You can see that the heifers today are going to graze some clover and also some reed canary grass. So this is a pasture that's a pretty good quality pasture, and we need to make sure that we get some high density. So every time we're going to sit there and think how much more pasture the guys need for the next meal time. And so they might need a one stake down, a half a stake down. Here I'm just going to set up a pretty short break because I'm just doing it for demonstration. But you can see the reel moving, so I'm unwinding some poly wire. I'm going to step in some pigtail post, and these pigtail posts are very easy to thread the poly wire through, as you see happening there. And about every 15 steps, I'm going to put in another post to move the wire down. So usually it takes me about 2 to 3 minutes to actually move a fence. The reels themselves are usually cost anywhere from $35, sometimes up to over $100, $120. I tend to use the cheaper reels, not that big of a deal, but I do like to use the reels compared to some like electric reels just because they have the handle and you can actually safely lock them a little bit easier too. So I'm going to put the last pigtail post in there, and then I'll move forward to the last stake. So I like to run my paddocks long and narrow so that the poly wire that I'm moving doesn't take quite so long to actually do it. So you'll notice that I lock in a pigtail post across the wire that's got about 6,000 bolts in it, and we're going to put the poly post right there, the fiberglass post right there. We'll wrap the poly wire around the reel a tad little bit and then interlock it through the pigtail post on across the fiberglass post, and you have a pasture poly fence that's actually locked in quite well. So that's as simple as it is. Again, a 2 to 3 minute job to actually move a fence wire, not that big of a deal. Let's take a closer look at the cows eating the pasture. You can see the poly wire sitting through there. So again, 6,000 bolts will keep these critters in. If I'm near a roadside, I'll have 2 or 3 strands of high tensile wire, so a different type of contraption. But for the temporary wires, you can just use the poly wire and kind of go from there. So the dairy cows or the bred heifers, or a dairy cow especially, is only going to eat about 27,000 bites a day, and she'll do that in about 8 hours. So the pastures need to be dense, and they also need to be of high quality so that we can get some good production out of them, both in growth or milk production if they're milk-producing animals. So you'll see the heifers grazing quite well, and this is also in the fall, so you'll notice some of the brown in some of the pasture grass. So this grass is actually a little bit on the stockpiled side already, so saving it for later use in the winter, fall and winter, if I want to try to do that. So as we take a look at the basics of a grazing system, it's as simple as that, of using poly wire step-in posts to be able to move a fence. And so you can see for the next meal that they're going to get, we're just going to go back and do the exact same thing, where I'll pop up the stakes and start moving the reel, and we have a pasture. So that's the basics of moving a pasture fence and the beginnings of rotational grazing. So again, thanks for watching. Product Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. Thank you.